everyone, I'm Lady Teddy. I'm going to be reading to you guys from Magium, which is a text-based choose-your-own-adventure story app thing that is really good, and I highly recommend it. So it is free on Android and iOS. So if you guys are interested, I recommend you download it for yourselves. There's a lot of different paths that you can take. Currently, we are doing a good, smart fairy playthrough. So if the choices are good or smart, I will generally make the decision for us, but if it's just general directions or conversations, I will allow you guys to participate if you would like. I know a lot of people like just relaxing or falling asleep to this, and that is totally okay. What I will do is I will read out loud the options that are available, and then I will give you guys a minute. If no one says anything, I will make the decision for us. If people are wanting to participate, I will go with whatever the majority of you guys are wanting to do. And I know that we are in the middle of the story, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Currently we are in the middle of Book 2, Chapter 7. Yeah. Oh, and I have all sound alerts turned off, so I wouldn't recommend redeeming any of them. They just completed a quest to assassinate a bunch of bad guys for the King of Thilius. And now they're going to their friend's house for dinner to celebrate doing, succeeding in the arena. And in the morning, they're going to go on an adventure to assassinate the King of Allendor for their new acquaintance and party member, Melindra. Okay. We grab our backpacks, we wave. Oh, I normally prop this up. We grab our backpacks, we wave goodbye to the king, and we go climb the stairs to the throne room. The king's servant was still there, and he had a rather uneasy look in his eyes when he saw us finally exit the king's basement, after more than 2 hours, but he said nothing and he led us outside, just like the last time when we came to the castle. After about an hour and a half later, we finally reached the mansion where Enrique was waiting for us impatiently. Finally, Enrique says, I was almost beginning to think that you might not show up. Yeah, sorry about that, Darren says. Our meeting with the king took a bit longer than we anticipated. Well, what's important is that you are here, Enrique says. The food is already done. I will tell the cooks to reheat it, and we will begin eating shortly. About 15 minutes later, Enrique comes out of the kitchen, followed by 5 cooks, each carrying plates of food, and each of them bringing a completely different specialty dish to the table. I would not be surprised if these dishes actually tasted better than what Flower can magically conjure, given her relatively limited knowledge of the culinary arts. After the cooks are done placing all of the dishes on one of the bigger picnic tables from the yard, Ella and Rose's siblings also join us, and we all seat ourselves at the table, getting ready for the well-earned feast. We spend the next few hours eating, drinking, and celebrating our long-awaited release from the arena. The food provided to us by the cooks actually did turn out to be on par with Flower's magically conceived delicacies, if not better. There were so many dishes on the table of which I'd never heard before, that it looked almost as if I were participating in a royal banquet of some kind. The cooks were initially all standing up in a line in front of the table, waiting for us to order refills, but after a whole hour of Hadrick insisting that they all join us for a drink, they eventually gave in and began to slowly loosen up, as the effect of the Dwarven ale was starting to set in. Towards the end of the celebration, Enrique made sure to supply us all with Rose's special herbs, so we could start fresh in the morning without fear of any hangovers. Since we needed to get up before sunrise the next day, we had to end the celebration early in order to get at least a few hours of sleep. But the hours that we spent at the table were exactly what we needed, after what we'd been through in the past few days. The next morning, while it was still dark outside, we all lined up in the yard to give Enrique our farewells. Well, I've only had the pleasure of talking to you for a few hours in total, Enrique says, but they were hours well spent. I will never forget you, my friends. I hope you will all get to accomplish your goals, whether they be winning the tournament or whatever else your hearts may desire. Goodbye, Enrique. Darren says, Remember to keep that transceiver I gave you earlier with you at all times. You never know when we may need to contact each other again, especially while the tournament is still in progress. We all waved goodbye to Enrique, and we set out to find the northern gate. After losing our way a few times and having to ask the locals for directions on numerous occasions, we finally managed to reach our destination just as the sun rises. And as we get a good look at the city gates, we see that Melindra was already waiting for us there, with her back leaning against a wall. As she waves at us to make sure that we've spotted her, we quicken our pace and we get ready to finally take our first steps towards our original goal. After so much sidetracking and so many delays, at long last we can get back to what we came here to do, participating in the Magium tournament. Oh wow, that was really short. Well, normally when I finish a chapter, I just end. But that was too short. This recording is 9 minutes long. So, I will probably keep going. Okay. Oh, what I just looked at was, he has a stat device, and these are the stats that are available since it's good smart. There's hearing, observation, and ancient languages, as well as strength, and there are 6 available points in case we want to add them throughout the game. Okay. I will update the title, though. There you are, Melindra says. Once we all get within hearing range of her. Just in time. Tell me, are you all ready to begin our adventure? If by adventure you mean waiting in line for an hour, then yes, Darren says as he points toward the city's northern gate. There seems to be at least a few dozen groups of people currently lined up on the main road leading towards the northern gate. Some of them are just travelers like us, but most of them appear to be merchants, with carts full of wares that need to be inspected one by the guards at the city's exit, before they are allowed to pass through the gate. Judging by how long it's taking the guards to inspect each cart, I'd say that Darren's estimation might actually be a bit optimistic. They're probably going to be stuck here for a lot longer than 1 hour. Yes, Melindra says as she takes a glance towards the very long line of carts in front of her. I forgot that the northern gate is primarily used by merchants in this city. It would have been so much nicer if they actually made more than one gate on their northern wall to solve their traffic problems. More gates means more vulnerable areas that need to be protected, Darren says. It would not be a good idea in times such as these when monster attacks are rampant. Let's just line up like all the others. The sun is barely up, so we'll still have plenty of time to travel, even if we waste another hour in the city. Actually, I have a better idea, Melindra says. We'll be taking a shortcut. A shortcut? Hadrick asks, confused. You mean like an underground tunnel, or... Oh, no, Melindra says with a smile. I was not talking about a tunnel. She then snaps her fingers, and we all begin to slowly get raised into the air, higher and higher, as I feel several air currents, as I feel several currents of air moving around me, in a similar fashion to how they used to move when I was using air magic to fly during my battle with the skeleton Stillwaters. No way, Darren says as we keep getting raised higher into the air. You're not seriously considering doing this, are you? Doing what? Melindra says with a coy smile. Don't play dumb with me, Darren says. You're going to fly us over that whole damn wall? Are you out of your mind? This is against the law. Those guards stationed on the wall are going to start shooting at us the moment we go over them. So what? Melindra says. You're a white mage and an enchanter, aren't you? You can just use that shield of yours to create a barrier around us, and we'll be fine. I don't have any barrier spells that deflect regular arrows, Darren shouts. Wait, seriously? Melindra says while raising an eyebrow. And besides, that's not the point, Darren says. We don't want to make this whole city into our enemy just because you were too lazy to wait in line. You don't? Melindra says. Why not? Are you planning to come back to this city afterwards? Yes, Darren says. I don't know. Well, it's too late to go back down now, anyway, Melindra says. Look below us. We're already passing over their wall, and those archers are getting ready to attack us. I hope at least someone in this group can defend against arrows, because lifting so many people at once using only air magic requires a great deal of concentration, and I don't want to risk dropping any of you while trying to deflect incoming projectiles. Attention to all mages that are now flying over our wall, we hear a guard shouting through a magical voice magnifier from the top of the city's wall. You are to descend at once. I repeat, you are to descend at once. If you ignore this warning, we will treat you as an enemy of the kingdom and we will open fire. I will not repeat this again. Try to convince Melindra to bring us down. Let Melindra deal with the situation however she wants. I think Smart Berry would not turn an entire city into an enemy, so I am inclined to go with this one. But if anyone could argue with me why this is not a good idea, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will go with this option in about a minute. Okay. Melindra, you heard the guy. I say, bring us down so we can talk to them. Maybe we can still smooth things over with the guards somehow. And wait 3 hours in some cells before they decide to let us go? Melindra says. No, thanks. I'd rather deal with the arrows. It's not just the arrows, damn it, I say. I don't want to become a lawbreaker in the city again after we went through all that trouble to get absolved of our crimes. Well, tough luck then, Melindra says, because I'm not planning to stop no matter what you say. But hey, if you think you can stop me yourself, then I invite you to try. I can't wait to see what you're planning to do against the still water of my caliber. Stop it. Stop or I'll... I really need to work on fake laughter. After Melindra... While Melindra is busy bragging, I decided I'd had enough. So I put both of my hands on the sides of her waist and I began to tickle her from behind. As the girl laughs, I can feel the air currents around me become more unstable, and I start to wobble uncontrollably in the air along with everyone else. Damn it, Melindra says while struggling to control her laughter. I can't move away from you while I'm concentrating on levitating, everyone. Stop tickling me. As Melindra is talking, the captain of the guards gives the order to attack, and now there are dozens of arrows heading in our direction while our group is just floating in the air, not having moved an inch since I started tickling Melindra. As soon as she sees the arrows, Kate immediately conjures several shields made of ice, which begin to move in the air all around us, defending us from the enemy's projectiles. Barry, what the hell, man? Darren says as he sees himself shaking up and down while still floating. Do you have a death wish? Relax, I tell Darren. It's not like she's going to drop us. Yes, I will, Melindra says. I will drop you. Just wait. Quit it. Yeah, right, I say. You're going to tell me that you went through all this trouble to find someone who could kill that king of yours, and now you're just going to let us drop to our deaths? Just get us down, will you? Hopefully it's not too late and we can still talk things over with the guards. I'm going to remember this, Melindra says as I stop tickling her, so she can finally start bringing us down towards the ground. When the captain of the guards sees us lowering our altitude, he signals his men He signals his men to increase their fire, and then he hurries towards a ladder in order to descend from the wall on the outer side of the city. By the time we all make it to the ground, right outside the city walls, the captain of the guards is already waiting for us impatiently, with a few of the other guards accompanying him as his escorts. The captain is a dwarf of around the same size as Hadric, wearing heavy armor with a long brown beard covering the bottom half of his face, and a steel helmet covering much of the rest aside from his eyes and his nose. As soon as we reach his position, Darren and I quickly begin to explain to him what happened, while repeatedly reassuring him that we were not looking to start a fight when we flew over their walls. Ugh, the captain of the guard says with his eyes closed as he rubs his forehead while shaking his head in disapproval. You know, if you really needed to leave the city in a hurry, you could have just asked one of the guards by the gate. We were all there when you people fought the dragon yesterday, together with King Golmick, so it wouldn't have been a problem to do you a small favor in return for your service. Listen, I'm going to try my best to keep this incident off the records, but please, for the love of all the gods, don't do this crap anymore. We guards are busy enough as it is. We don't have time to deal with your shenanigans. Of course, Darren says. Thank you for your understanding, and I apologize again in the name of our group. I hope that the next time we meet, it will be under better circumstances. Darren and I turn back towards the others, and we signal them that we're good to go. Melindra still has her pouting expression on her face after what happened earlier, but she doesn't say any more on the subject for the time being, and she takes the lead as we move to follow her. Why aren't we taking the main road? Kate asks Melindra as she leads us towards the woods. I saw a sign saying that it was leading directly to Allendor. Oh, that road takes longer than going through the forest, Melindra says. It's because it takes a more roundabout way through safer territories, so that the merchants can better avoid monster attacks. There's no need for us to take such precautions, though. Most of you are powerful mages, right? Well, nowhere near as powerful as I am, but still. Can you stop Can you stop with the condescending remarks? I tell her. It's clear that your level of power cannot even compare to that of Eden. And if we're talking regular Stillwaters, then we already beat 5 of them at once without much trouble. They weren't anything special. Hell, I practically finished them off all by myself. Stop bragging, you idiot, Ureka says. If it weren't for my advice, your stupidly overpowered Lissathi relic, If it weren't for my advice and your stupidly overpowered Lissathi relic, those regular Stillwaters would have stomped you all into the ground. Okay, fine. I admit it, I say. We may have gotten a bit lucky there, but still, there were 5 of them and they were a squad. She's just one Stillwater and not a particularly impressive one either. Judging by what spells I've seen her cast until now, I'd say she's an air elementalist. Isn't that right, Melindra? And what if I am? Melindra says. That's like the single weakest type of elementalist in existence, I say. Even if you take into account all of the artificial mages with non-traditional elements invented by the Lissathi. Can you even cast anything other than wind spells? Of course I can, Melindra says, visibly upset. Oh yeah? I say. Well, why don't you teleport us all to the city of Allendor right now Oh yeah, I say. Well, why don't you teleport us all to the city of Allendor right now then? Eden could have done it. I am not Eden, Melindra says. Okay, my mistake, I say. But surely a powerful air elementalist such as yourself could easily fly us all the way there, right? Oh wait, I just remembered that you could barely keep us afloat while we were going over that wall. So I'm supposing that flying us is off the table too then. Huh. Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but to me, still waters are beginning to sound less like legendary mages and more like regular mages with a little extra power and energy. Funny how this works, eh? Melindra is now furrowing her eyebrows and pursing her lips, making yet another pouting expression as she looks at me. That's enough, Barry, Darren says. We only just began our journey. You don't want us to be fighting all the way to Allendor, do you? Hey, I'm just saying, I say, if she were to admit that she's not as powerful as she thinks she is, and that we could easily beat her if we all teamed up against her, then it would be much easier for all of us. Well, what if I were to prove you wrong then? Melindra says, smirking as she cracks her knuckles. All we need is for your white mage to temporarily cancel the effects of his enchanter's oath, and we can get down to business. Hey, now we're talking, Hadrick says with a grin. Sounds good to me, I say. Ah ha ha ha, Araka says, as I see Kate smacking herself hard in the face. You're all going to get obliterated. That girl doesn't know how to hold back. Shut up, Darren shouts. Nobody is fighting anyone. I'm not going to undo the oath just because you people want a sparring match. We are outside city limits. We could be getting attacked by enemy mages at any point. We don't have time to play games here. Fine, Melindra says, frowning. What if we were to ask her to demonstrate her powers without fighting us? I feel like either of these are fine for good Smartberry. I'm inclined to go with this one, but it is up to you guys. If anyone would like to participate, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will pick in about a minute. Okay. What if we ask her to demonstrate her powers without fighting us? Darren says. Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to know what she's capable of, seeing as how we'll be working together for a while. Perfect, Melindra says as her face lights up. Hold on. Let me get really far away from you because I wouldn't want to end up burying you under a ton of rocks by accident. Darren says. What exactly are you planning to... He doesn't get to finish his sentence because Melindra flies into the air right away, and she eventually gets far enough away from us that we can barely even distinguish her shape anymore. She then stops very high up in the sky, and she appears to be raising her arms in the air as she is channeling her spell. Not long afterwards, we feel a very powerful wind coming towards us, and we watch the air currents below Melindra spinning faster and faster until they turn into a full-blown tornado. Dozens of trees are now getting pulled from their roots and being lifted into the air by the giant twister in the distance, and even large rocks underneath the soil are starting to break off from the ground. As a large cloud of dust covers the whole area between us and the tornado, the merchants from Thilius are beginning to stop by the side of the road in order to gaze at the terrifying spectacle that is unraveling before their eyes. Okay, Melindra, I think you've made your point, Darren shouts as loud as he can. You should come down now, you're scaring the locals. As soon as she hears Darren call out to her, Melindra begins to cancel her spell, and all the air currents forming the tornado slowly come to a halt over the next 30 seconds, while the trees and the rocks that were caught in the tornado fall to the ground one by one. Once the twister has dissipated into the air, Melindra comes flying back, and she lands in front of us with a victorious smile on her face. How was that for a demonstration of my powers? She says. Okay, I say. You win this round. Maybe the air element isn't as weak as I made it out to be earlier. Of course it isn't, Melindra says. Even wind by itself can do this much damage, but this is magic wind we're talking about. You can sharpen it like any other element. You can reinforce it. Do you have any idea how many possibilities? Melindra suddenly stops in the middle of her sentence as she briefly falls from her feet, with her eyes closed, looking as if she were mere seconds away from fainting. Are you all right? Baron says while he helps her regain her balance. I'm fine, Melindra says simply as she rubs her forehead with her eyes still closed. Ha! Araka says, I told you she doesn't know when to hold back. She used up all her energy to make that tornado, and now she's so tired she can barely even stand up anymore. Wait, are you serious? Darren says while he's still holding Melindra to make sure that she won't faint again. Should we take a break or something? I said I'm fine, Melindra says as she pulls herself away from Darren. Let's keep going. We all exchange a few looks, but we don't say anything else, and we follow her in silence for the next few minutes. At the beginning, it was pretty obvious for everyone that Melindra was making an effort to even walk straight, but her situation gradually improved as we advanced through the forest, probably as a result of her magical energy getting slowly restored as she walked. So, I say to Melindra, as we travel through the area filled with craters and fallen trees caused by the earlier tornado. Do you still remember our discussion from yesterday? You were just about to tell us how still waters were created, but then we got sidetracked and we never really got back to our initial conversation afterwards. Shall we continue where we left off? That's a lie, and you know it, Melindra says. I never said I would tell you anything about how you can become a Stillwater. Okay, you never said you would, but you will tell us, right? I say. No, Melindra says. Why not? I say. Listen, Melindra says, if you wanted to get information from me, maybe you should have thought of that before getting on my bad side. Getting on your bad side? I say. Wait a minute, are you talking about the tickling? Yes, Melindra says. Oh, come on, I say. You're not going to hold a grudge because of some harmless tickling, are you? Yes, I am, Melindra says. Well, could you at least give us some hints then? I say. Stop asking, Melindra says. I'm not telling you anything. Could you at least tell us how you met Eden and what is your affiliation with him? Kate asks. Are you related by any chance? Oh, no. We're not related, Melindra says. Ex-lovers, then? Hadrick asks. Not really, Melindra says. Then why did Uraka say that you were trailing behind him in the fox during the still winter? Kate says. Well, Melindra says, we sort of became friends when he was being imprisoned. Actually, we were more like trading partners than friends, but I guess we also became friends afterwards. Was this before the still winter? What was he being imprisoned for? How did he manage to get imprisoned when he has all of these powers? I'm inclined to go with the first option, but if anyone would like to weigh in now is your chance. Otherwise, I will be making the decision in about a minute. Was this before the still winter? What was he being imprisoned for? Yes, it was before the still winter, Melindra says. I don't know what he was being imprisoned for. He never told me. Who was holding him prisoner? Kate says. I don't think I should be talking about this, Melindra says. Why not? Kate says. Did Eden ask you not to talk about it? Something of the sort, yes, Melindra says. Someone earlier asked me to put a third eye on my forehead, so I drew one and then licked it and then stuck it on my forehead. And then this was probably about 30-45 minutes into my stream, and they said that it was going to fall off on the hour mark of my stream. And so I made a prediction that was, will it fall off at the hour, before the hour, after the hour, or it won't fall off? Which means that I can't take it off. But so far it has not fallen off. You would have said won't? I think, what was it? So 70%, well, one person voted it will fall off at the hour, but then they used channel points to make it so they used 1.3k channel points on that. So 70% said yes. 0 people said it will be after then. 5% said it will be before then. which was one person with 100 channel points, and 25% said it won't fall off. Which was 2 people with 460 channel points. It has been roughly 4 hours now, yeah. It still hasn't fallen off. I feel like at this point I could just say it and then... But I won't. I won't cheat. I wouldn't like it off my forehead though, it's annoying. I could feel it. What about that trading partners thing you mentioned earlier? Hedrick says. Can you talk about that? I suppose, Melindra says. See, when I was tasked with cleaning the prison corridors, I would often notice this large pile of rocks in the corner of Eden's cell, and each of those rocks were so marvelously unique in their shapes, sizes, and compositions that I could barely take my eyes off of them. I wasn't sure how I could convince Eden to give them to me, but once I saw those rocks, I knew that I needed to have them. So I kept coming back to Eden's cell, and I kept starting conversations with him every day, and in the hopes that I'd find out something that he needed from outside his cell, so I could trade it to him in exchange for some of his rocks. That would be funny and for Pink Lizard, but I have a feeling I'm going to update the outcome of this before the end of my stream, so I'll probably take it off after I do the outcome. You wanted to make a trade with him for some of his rocks? Darren asks. Couldn't you have just asked him for them? Well, obviously, I could have just asked him for them, Melindra says, but who would be stupid enough to give them away for free? But Darren starts to say, but then he interrupts himself mid-sentence. Ugh, you know what? You're right. My mistake. Please continue. Thank you, Melindra says. So, anyways, after several conversations with Eden, I found out that the food they were serving him was of extremely poor quality. So since I was also in charge of serving dishes and I had access to the kitchen, I offered to sneak some better food into his cell every once in a while, in exchange for certain rocks from the pile in his corner. At first, he thought that I wasn't being serious, and he accepted the trade somewhat in jest. But when he actually saw me bringing him the food, when holding out my hand waiting for my hard-earned prize, he looked rather shocked. I had to point several times towards the rock I wanted before he actually gave it to me. He also seemed to be amused every time I referred to our bargains as even trades, but I'm not exactly sure why. He never told me the reason. As Melindra talks, I suddenly remember my first conversation with Eden, when I also offered him my own version of an even trade. After hearing the story, I think I'm starting to understand a bit better why he burst out laughing like that when I made my proposition to him. You collect rocks? Flower says all of a sudden. Do you still have them with you? Why, of course, Melindra says. I always carry them with me. My collection has gotten a lot larger in the past 600 years, but I still have those original rocks that I started my collection with here in my backpack. Do you want to see them? Yes, Flower says, excited. I'd love to. Well, okay, but just so you know, I won't be slowing down my pace, Melindra says. If you want to see them, you'll have to join my side, and I'll show them to you as we walk. Of course, Flower says as she rushes by Melindra's side. The Stillwater girl then takes off her backpack and she begins to take out her rocks one by one, handing them over to Flower so she can get a good look at them, and then putting them back inside when she's done. As I was suspecting, none of the rocks seemed to have any real marketable value, and they would look completely worthless to anyone else. But that still doesn't seem to stop Flower from marveling at every one of the rocks, while Melindra proudly explains to her the features that made her consider the stones to be worthy of her collection, making sure to also give her a brief summary of where she found each of them. While Melindra and Flower are having their discussion, Daring gives the rest of us a signal, and we all slow down a bit to have a talk outside of Melindra's hearing range while still following her. So, what do you all think about Melindra so far? Darren whispers while making sure that Melindra isn't paying attention to us. Do you think that she might be working with Eden? I think she's a bit stuck up, but I doubt she's a traitor. Nah, she seems alright to me. You mean like an informant? It's certainly possible. I would like to go with this one. If anyone could argue with me, why not? Now is your chance. Otherwise, I will be going with this one. But she doesn't seem like a traitor. I mean, if she was a traitor, if she was working with Eden, he wouldn't have ignored her, and she wouldn't have needed to go to us for help. Y'all have about a minute. Okay. I think she's a bit stuck up, but I doubt she's a traitor. Yeah, Darren, I think you're overreacting, Hadrick says. We already knew that she was friends with Eden when we took her deal. There's no need to doubt her every step of the way. I believe there's... Hang on. There's 11 chapters. And there's 3 books. Yeah, Darren, I think you're overreacting, Hadrick says. We already knew that she was friends with Eden when we took her deal. There's no need to doubt her every step of the way. You're all looking at this the wrong way, Kate says. It doesn't matter if she's trustworthy or not. As long as we don't discuss any crucial information while she's around, we'll be fine. It does matter, damn it, Darren says. If we're all just going to lag behind like this every time we need to discuss something important, it will look suspicious as hell. So what? Kate says. Why would we care if she thinks we're suspicious? Because she's a member of the team, Darren says. Is she? Kate says, raising an eyebrow. Listen, Darren says. My question was whether we should trust her or not. If you're going to say we should keep everything hidden from her, then it's the same as saying that, Melindra says as she sees us all huddled together far behind her and Flower. If you're going to talk about me behind my back, you could at least try to do it in a less obvious way. What? Darren says in a painfully obvious fake tone. No, you got it all wrong. We weren't talking about you. We were talking about, Flower. You were? Flower says, looking worried. Hey, nice save, Darren, I say as I pat him hard on the back. I don't see how anyone could still think we're being suspicious after that after a well thought out explanation like that. Shut up, Darren mumbles, but he doesn't say anything else. Listen, Melindra says, if you all want to have your own private conversations about strategies and whatnot, it's fine. But could you at least wait until we make camp or take a break somewhere? It's annoying to have to keep a lookout for you so you don't get lost while I'm also monitoring the monsters that are trying to ambush us. Wait, there are monsters trying to ambush us? I say while I quickly take off my backpack and pull out my crossbow. Damn it, Araka, you had one job. My job was to tell you about invisible enemies, jackass. Araka says, none of these enemies are invisible. What kind of morons are you that you can't even tell when monsters are laying in ambush for you anyway? What type of monsters are we talking about? Kate says, and how many? They're too far away for me to get a read on them with my magical sense. Oh, they're actually not that far away, Melindra says, but they are all suppressing their magical auras, so it's understandable that you can't sense them approaching. I think there are about 5 orcs, 2 ogres, and 2 goblins. The goblins are both mages, but the others seem to be just warriors. You should be able to take them out without much trouble. You? Darren says. Don't you mean we? As in, we, the group of people that are all traveling together, who will be fighting these monsters together as a team? What? Melindra says. Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. What would be the use of bringing you all the way to Allendor with me if you can't even beat a few monsters by yourself? Do you have any idea what good defenses they have in that city? How else do you think their king could afford to piss off every other kingdom in Varathia without getting killed off by now? But what if the monsters kill us before we get there? I say. Then I'd have to find somebody else to help me, Melindra says. Somebody who could kill off a few orcs without complaining so much. Listen, it's just a few monsters. It's not the end of the world. The Ice Mage could probably take them all out by herself. The little girl, too. Even though half Lasathi could probably handle them if he invested in the right stats. We have names, you know, Darren says. I don't know your names, Melindra says. And besides, why would I need to know them? You're all distinguishable enough by your races and specializations that I don't need to bother to learn them. They never mentioned Hadrick. I guess he doesn't think Hadrick is worthy, even though Hadrick is one of the stronger members of the team. You're trying really hard to get on our nerves, aren't you? Darren says. Why do you say that? Melindra asks with a genuinely puzzled expression on her face. Be quiet, Kate says. I can hear the ogres approaching from behind us. I think the orcs started advancing as well. We should be seeing them in front of us soon. Wow, that's impressive, Melindra says. You can tell all that from the sound of their footsteps? How can you tell the difference? Is it because the ogres are bigger and heavier than the orcs? I said be quiet, Kate says. If you're not going to be useful, then at least stay out of our way and don't distract us with your talking. How cold, Melindra says. I'm starting to wonder if there isn't actually some truth behind those myths which claim that there is a direct correlation between a mage's personality and their elemental affinity. Do you ever shut up? Kate says. Oh, I should end. Yeah, I got 5 minutes to end. I'm gonna end here. Sorry. Right before combat. Okay, well, I hope you all enjoyed that. I know it was a little more stuttery than usual, but 5-hour stream. So, I will update this. It did last the entire stream. It did not fall off. You like my overlay setup? Thank you! I spent too much work on this, so thank you. Okay, oh, they actually, because they picked the right one, they get points. Cool! So, Hartash and Diagoose are getting 1,850 channel points. They're my, I think the newest 50 followers. Yeah. You also stream. It's an overlay that I believe is on Stream Elements. I can look it up if you'd like. Hartash, you're still here. Thank you for hanging out. Yeah, you get 1,950 channel points. I mean, yeah, I've seen you stream a couple times. Did you ever get that video that I have in my streamer channel? Well, I appreciate you for lurking. Thank you, Hartash. Okay, so tomorrow is Friday. So, and it's, we're gonna be playing Goose Goose Duck with the rest of the streamers in that group. Turkey, if you would like to, well, actually, it's not just streamers. So if anyone would like to play Goose Goose Duck with us tomorrow, that's what we're doing. It's a lot of fun. It's a free game that's on Steam, or you could play on your phone as well. So, oh, you didn't find it? I can send it, like, I can try and, like, tag you to make sure that you get it, if you still want it. Do you want me to make sure that you can see it? You? I'm actually about to end it, but don't really know why you're bothering to pop in here just for that. If you're not here to bring good vibes, then please don't. Don't be here. Okay, so yeah, if y'all want to play Goose Goose Duck with us tomorrow, that's the plan. If we end early enough, I will try and stream Magium or read. Yes. So, I hope y'all are having a really good rest of your day or night or whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm going to sleep now, so good night, everyone. You were wonderful. Bye bye.